Welcome, everyone. In today's Explainer, we're unpacking a massive paradigm shift from the Nova Trail Professional Fashion Designing Program. We are diving deep into their Class 22 Garment Analysis Masterclass. This material is all about transforming how we look at clothes, taking us from being just casual observers to trained professionals who can literally read a garment like a book.
We have a really rigorous syllabus to get through today. We're going to unpack the core foundations and framework, dive into technical anatomy using real-world case studies, look at some super common beginner mistakes, and wrap it all up with a final assessment.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Foundations and Framework. This is the absolute blueprint for how a pro approaches any piece of clothing.
Okay, so let's talk about our learning objectives. The main goal here is to master a strict 10-step framework to analyze silhouette, fit, fabric, construction, and function. Think back to your basic elements and principles of design, things like line, shape, balance, and rhythm. Well, design analysis equals those elements plus the principles. But garment analysis, it takes it a massive step further into physical reality. Garment analysis equals design analysis plus fabric, construction, fit, function, and the consumer. It's the whole shebang.
You see, there's a pretty stark contrast between design analysis and garment analysis. Design analysis is this really broad concept. You can apply it to graphic design, fine art, interior decorating, whatever. Garment analysis, on the other hand, is highly specialized. It's strictly for apparel. The output isn't just about understanding something visually. It demands a deep, technical, and commercial understanding of how a physical product actually behaves in the real world.
So here is the absolute backbone of this training, the 10-step professional framework. Think of this like a surgeon's pre-op checklist. You don't skip steps. Step 1, you observe for 30 seconds before judging, then identify the category and visually deconstruct its parts. Next, you analyze the design elements, the physical construction, the material, and the functional comfort. And finally, you analyze the target market, evaluate the overall strengths and weaknesses, and formally document the whole thing. And that final documentation step leads us right here to the official Garment Analysis Sheet template. This sheet captures every single one of those detail groups, from the overarching silhouette right down to the specific target customer. It essentially guarantees that absolutely no technical detail slips through the cracks when you're building a professional portfolio.
Moving right along to Section 2, Technical Anatomy and Case Studies. This is where the material systematically deconstructs the physical layers of a garment.
When we dive into those initial layers, the analysis obviously starts with identification and design elements. But listen, the most vital distinction in this entire curriculum happens under the fit category. Fit is the visual, aesthetic appearance of how the garment sits on a body. Ease, however, is a technical measurement. It's the physical extra space added specifically for movement and comfort. They are completely different things. A visually skin-tight fit might actually require very specific technical ease just so the person can breathe and move.
Next, the course rapid fires through individual anatomical components, isolating every single piece: the neckline, the collar, the bodice, the waistline. And you have to look closely at the structural components, right? Darts are used to shape flat fabric to the curves of a body, whereas pleats or gathers, they simply add soft volume. You also need to spot seam placements, yokes that provide structure, and functional elements like slits for walking or specific closures.
But a garment's anatomy isn't just about the cut. It's heavily about the material. Fabric weight and drape dictate absolutely everything. Think about an A-line silhouette. If you make it in a structured cotton, it looks completely crisp and stiff, right? But that exact same silhouette in a fluid georgette behaves entirely differently. A true analysis also demands that you evaluate the construction method, the functionality, and the market context, meaning the season it's meant for and how it's styled. Let's actually apply this framework to some real-world examples from the source material. First, the basic kurti. It features a straight silhouette, a very relaxed fit, and high ease because it's meant for daily home movement. Then we have the A-line kurti, which offers a fitted bodice with a triangular flare, often using princess seams. But then look at the sari blouse. That represents extreme technical requirements. It demands a precision fit, minimal ease, and multiple structural darts because it basically acts as a foundation garment for festive wear.
The contrast is just as sharp with our formal wear case studies. The pencil skirt has a super narrow silhouette with very little ease, which makes a backslit an absolute functional necessity if you actually want to walk. Compare that tight structure to the anarkali dress, which joins up to 16 separate panels to create massive, dramatic, festive volume. Finally, there's the effortless shirt dress, which smartly borrows collar and button placket construction techniques for really practical daytime wear.
So, what's the difference between a novice and a pro? It's the vocabulary. A poor analysis relies on subjective, vague opinions like, oh, this dress is very beautiful, perfect for a party. A professional analysis relies on hard, technical facts. This Anarkali silhouette features a fitted bodice and 14 panels joined at the waistline seam. The fluid georgette fabric supports the drape. See the difference? That is the exact objective vocabulary expected of you.
And that brings us perfectly to Section 3, Mistakes and Guided Practical, where we course correct those amateur pitfalls.
The curriculum warns against some really critical beginner mistakes. Novices often make the mistake of analyzing a piece purely by its surface colors, or completely ignoring the overall silhouette and how the fabric actually drapes. We just talked about fit versus ease. Confusing those two is a huge red flag. You also can't ignore the inside construction details like seams and darts. And if you forget the occasion, the target customer, or fail to identify individual design elements, well, that's a quick way to fail an analysis.
And the pitfalls don't stop there. Using subjective terms like beautiful or ugly is a big no-no. So is using incorrect technical vocabulary. Remember, a dart is not a pleat. Or mixing up design and construction, like ignoring that a yoke serves both visual and structural purposes. The framework also cautions against judging quality purely by a price point, ignoring market segments, or rushing those 10 steps. But the most critical warning? You absolutely must keep your personal design biases out of objective evaluation. Saying, "I don't like it," has literally zero place in professional analysis.
Ultimately, the goal here is upgrading how you think. Trained professionals automatically run a sort of internal monologue when they look at clothes. Why is this specific neckline used here? What visual effect does this seam placement create? Who is this actually designed for? How would changing the fabric alter its behavior, or changing the length affect the proportion? What technical decisions were made in the construction? These analytical questions just become second nature.
To actually put this into practice, the syllabus outlines a guided practical. You literally just select a garment from your own closet and execute the full 10-step framework on it. It also includes this really fascinating garment detective activity, which challenges you to view mystery garments without any labels and deduce the category, the fabric, and the target consumer entirely through visual construction clues. It's like forensic science for fashion.
Okay, let's bring it all home with Section 4, Assessment and Wrap-Up. This is where we validate all this technical knowledge.
The final milestone of this class is a rigorous portfolio assignment. You are required to analyze 5 completely different garments, and you have to document every single detail, from the garment category, silhouette, and fabric, right down to the specific target customer and occasion. You also need to identify at least 2 technical strengths and weaknesses for each. These beautifully formatted analysis sheets are going to form the foundation of your professional portfolio.
The module concludes with a skill check to reinforce those critical definitions we've been talking about. It hammers home again that fit is visual, while ease is technical space. It clearly distinguishes style lines, which are mostly just visual, from design lines, which actually serve structural construction purposes. And it strictly separates a dart used for body shaping from a pleat folded for volume.
The assessment also tests some really cool professional thinking scenarios. For example, what happens if you take a structured pencil skirt and try making it out of a soft, flowy georgette? Well, that sharp, professional definition is completely lost, right? Or consider an anarkali without a waistline seam. The design flow breaks entirely, making that massive flare totally unmanageable. It proves that every single technical choice has a profound consequence.
Let's do a super quick recap of the essential notes. Garment analysis requires you to systematically observe all 9 detail groups through that strict 10-step framework. Remember, fit and ease are definitively different concepts. Style lines and design lines have completely distinct functions, and using the standardized sheet template for documentation is absolutely non-negotiable.
So why does all this analytical rigor actually matter? Because it's the engine for your entire career. It powers your design research, your competitor analysis, and your collection development. You literally cannot refine your own creations without technically understanding construction first. Once you learn this framework, you don't just see fabric anymore. You see calculated engineering decisions. So the next time you put on your favorite piece of clothing, ask yourself, what technical secrets is it hiding in its seams?